On number 14, I wanted to show you the work. I kind of wrote it out detailed on your semester exam review. So you're going to factor the 2x. You're going to factor on 14. If there's division, we'll see that. Check that out here in a second. But on the letter A here, you're going to factor 2x squared plus x minus 6. You're going to multiply 2 times negative 6. And that's going to give you negative 12. You're going to find the factors of negative 12 that add to give you positive 1. You'll find out that those are 4 and negative 3. The factors go second in the parentheses, so notice here I have a plus 4 and I have a minus 3. And then I'm going to take the 2x and I'm going to put it here in the front of each parenthesis. And then from there, I'm simply going to divide by what they have in common. So 2x and 4 are both divisible by 2, which gives me x plus 2. 2x minus 3 are both divisible by 1, giving me 2x minus 3. The rest of it is just straight up factoring what multiplies to give me negative 18, but adds to give me negative 7. What multiplies to give me negative 81, but adds to give me 0. And then from there, all I do is I cancel the stuff on top and bottom that looks the same. And then whatever's left over, I write, and that's my answer. Letter B, if I have a fraction divided by a fraction, I change the division in between to multiplication, and I flipped the fraction behind the division. Then from there, I simply factor 2x squared plus 11x plus 5. 2 times 5 is 10. The factors of 10 that add to give me 11 are 10 and 1. Notice the factors go second in my parentheses. 1 and 10 and 1 are 1 and 10. Then the number in front of the x squared goes with an x in front of each. And then I simply divide by what they have in common. 2 and 1 are both divisible by 1. 2 and 10 are both divisible by 2, leaving me with x plus 5. Then I factor everything else, and then from there I cancel what I can cancel. And then I'm done there. Okay, for number 15 just asks you about end behavior. I kind of wrote out a lot of good information on your on the actual answers themselves. So I wanted to go ahead and project the answers and kind of talk you through them there. So if the degree is even, meaning the highest exponent is even, they're both going to point in the same direction. If the degree is odd, then they're going to point in opposite direction. Now, if A is positive, the leading coefficient is positive, regardless of it's even or odd. If the leading coefficient is positive, the right side of the graph will go up. If the leading coefficient is negative, the right side of the graph will go down. So you look here, and the highest exponent is 4, the degree is 4, the leading coefficient is positive 9, this number here. So they're both going to go in the same direction, and they're both going to go up. Letter B, the degree is 8, the leading coefficient is negative. They're going to go in the same direction, but they're going to go down. Letter C, the degree is 7. They're going to go in opposite direction because my leading coefficient is negative. That means the right side is going to go down. My degree here is 5 on letter D. The leading coefficient is 6. The right side is going to go its opposite direction, in this case with the right side going up. Okay, again for 16, multiplicity is simply, it just tells you what exponent goes on the parentheses when you write it in factored form. So notice here for letter A, you have x equals negative 3 as the root. So when I plug it in the parentheses, it's always the opposite. The multiplicity is 4. That just simply tells me to put an exponent of 4 on the parentheses. I do the same thing for x equals 2. It becomes x minus 2. The number as the exponent is going to be 3. And then I have x equals 4. They don't give me a multiplicity, so I'm simply just going to write it like I've always written it. If I were to count here, I have 4 roots here, 3 roots here, and 1 root here for a total of 8 roots. That's why the degree is 8. For letter B and letter C, it's the same thing. Multiplicity is the exponent of the parentheses. When I write it in factored form, I'm simply adding the exponents up and figuring out what the degree is. So there's the answer to number 16 there. For number 17, I went ahead and crossed off letter A, letters A and C, so you don't have to worry about doing those guys there. But if you look at my apologies. Let me get to the right problem. Oops. Apologize. So you again, A and C are included, so we'll just focus on letter B here. I'm simply going to plug my equation into y equals, like I've done here. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the table, second graph, and I'm simply going to go to the table and I'm looking to see the value of x when y is 0. So notice here you have a root at 3, 0, you have a root at negative 1, 0, and you have a root C, and then they don't give you another root. Now, I noticed that the degree is 4, meaning that I must have 4 roots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do synthetic division with the 2 roots that I found. I did some extensive work on your answer key, so I want to show you that. I simply am going to, the roots are 3 and negative 1. Those are the ones I found. I'm simply going to do synthetic division with one of the roots first. Once I do synthetic division, I will get a remainder of 0 because that number was a root. Then I'm going to do synthetic division again with the other root, but with the numbers that are left over from the previous synthetic division. Now, if I do synthetic division once, I drop the exponent from x to the 4th to x cubed. If I do synthetic division again, I drop the exponent from x cubed to x squared. So notice when I do synthetic division the second time, I get a quadratic, and then from there, what I do is I factor the quadratic. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. What multiplies to give me negative 12, it adds to give me negative 1, negative 4, and positive 3. Again, remember the 6x goes in front of each. The first parentheses, they're both divisible by 2. The second parenthesis, they're both divisible by 3. Once I get that, then from there, I find out what makes them 0. Once I find out what makes them 0, then I list out all 4 roots. So they asked me for just the roots, so I'm listing out all 4 roots there. There's that. Number 18 is just like number 10. Properties are still the same. Plus becomes multiplication, minus becomes division. If there's a number in front of the log, it goes back as the exponent on the inside. If you have a square root, it's the same as something raised to the 1/2. If you have a cube root, it's the same as something raised to the 1/3. So I worked out in detail here. The 5 goes back as the exponent for x, and then that's what that shows here. And then plus is going to become multiplication. For letter B, the 2 goes back as the exponent for x. The 3 goes back as the exponent for x minus 4. Plus becomes multiplication. Minus becomes division. And then letter C, I'm going to separate. That means each thing that I separate gets a log of that base. In this case, the base is 2. Multiplication becomes addition. Division becomes subtraction. And then the square root sign, I rewrote it as an exponent of 1/2. And then from there, all the exponents get moved to the front. There. On letter D, we know that natural log and E cancel each other. So multiplication is going to become addition. Division is going to become subtraction. The cube root is going to become raised to the 1/3. Then from there, I moved the exponent. If I had an exponent, I moved it to the front of the natural log. And then notice that natural log of E cancels each other. So in your calculator, if you were to do natural log of E, and you have to give it a little exponent there. Natural log of E, notice you get 1, they cancel each other. 4 times 1 is 4. So that's the answers there for that guy. On number 19, we went ahead and eliminated letter C there. But I kind of detailed on the answer key again how to solve it for 19a. The first thing you want to do is divide by 2 to get rid of the number in front of the base of 6 raised to the x minus 5. When I divide both sides by 2, I get this. To get rid of the base of 6, I do log of that base to both sides. And then again, to plug that in my calculator, remember we do, oops, my apologies there. We do math, alpha, math, so math, alpha, math, and we simply type our numbers in, and then our calculator is going to give us an answer. And we simply set that answer equal to the exponent and then continue to solve for x. So notice here, x minus 5 equals 3, x is 8. If they give you a base raised to an exponent equals a number, to get rid of the base, you do log of that base to both sides. I did that here, log base 34 to both sides again. It's math alpha math. 34 is the base, and 9 is the inside. And you simply plug it in and you get your answer. For letter D, I have log on one side and a number on the other side. To get rid of the log, I big base both sides. In this case, because the base is 5, I'm going to big 5 both sides. When I big 5 both sides, this part cancels, leaving me with just 2x minus 3 equals to 5 raised to the 4th. I have that written here. 5 to the 4th is 625. 2x minus 3 equals 625. I add 3 on both sides to get rid of the minus 3. That gives me 2x equals 628. And then from there, I would divide by 2. So I get my answer is 314. On letter E, I'm trying to get log by itself, so I divide by 10 first. Dividing by 10 gives me this. 24 divided by 10 is 2.4. Then to get rid of log base 3, I big 3 both sides, like I did here. When I big 3 both sides, big 3 and log base 3 cancel, leave me with 7x. And then I divide by 7 to get x, so then I plug in. I just want to show you that, make sure you don't make that mistake. So 3 raised to the 2.4, and whatever that answer is, I divide by 7, and that gets me the correct answer. I also added to my tutorial post that I posted last week, where I posted all the different tutorials that I posted over the semester. I posted tutorials on solving logs and exponentials as well. So in case you need to watch those. And there's the work for number 19, F and G. I wrote the work out in detail for you to follow. If you're still having trouble following it, more than welcome to come to tutoring to get help on that. And then switching gears to number 20. Yeah, number 20. I'm going to use the formula y equals c times e to the kt. That's the formula I'm going to be using. C is going to be what I start with. They're going to give me a time, and they're going to give me a y value. And then I'm simply going to do those. Those are the same as number 13. So let me show you those answers. Okay, you don't have to do letter D from the 20. You can cross off letter D there. But there's the work for letter A and B. It's the same as 13. Letter B asked me just to plug in a value for T and get Y. And then letter C asked me to plug a value in for Y and get T. On 21, they say find Y when X is equal to 37. I plug my equation of Y equals, and then there's a few ways to do it. I can do second graph, and I could scroll until I get to 37. But a shortcut to that, if you do second window, you simply tell your table to start at 37, and then you do second graph. It'll actually give you your answer. So in this case, notice when X is 37, this is what Y is. You want to be careful to cursor over so that you get the correct value, because the calculator approximates. So the answer there is 16,181.35. You want to be careful of that. For letter C, I would do the same thing. Second window, and then my table set would be 120. And then I send second graph, and let's see at 120, the answer is 591,832. Not a big deal there. Those are going to be kind of easy. And then